Hello and welcome to the Girl That Went For It podcast. I'm your host, Johanna Scholz, also known as Johanna Liana on Instagram, and author of Believe in Life, How to Dance in the Rain. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, Johanna_Liana, for daily content. And now enjoy this episode.
The other day when I was on my little mindful morning walk, I had just the best ideas for a podcast, and when I got back to my car I wrote it down straight away, and that was about stepping out of our comfort zone. In today's episode I'm going to talk about what is our comfort zone, why should we step out of our comfort zone, and how there will always be a comfort zone. Over the past few years there have been many million times, I could basically say, that I stepped out of my comfort zone. And over the past few years, I've received messages from you on Instagram, especially since I moved to New Zealand, because that's a big, huge step out of my comfort zone, out of, I bet, everyone's comfort zone to move to the other side of the world. I've received messages like, how did you do this? Where did you find the courage? Or saying like, I could never do this. I could never leave my family behind. I find it so scary to move somewhere where I don't know anyone. How did you make friends? And all these things. And my answer to that is I always stepped out of my comfort zone. It wasn't easy for me. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to do this now. Well, somehow yes, because it was my dream. I was like, yes, I'm going to do this now. But of course, there were always situations where I had to step out of my comfort zone, where I had to leave my comfortable box and do it, because for me, I knew I want this reality, and I know I can only get it if I step out of my comfort zone, if I change something that I do daily to get there. Because if I hadn't done that, I would have still sit in Germany. I don't know what I would do, but yeah, so in order to live your dream, to follow your dream, you have to step out of your comfort zone, because it's not going to be given to you, and you are responsible for doing the steps. So I looked up, what does comfort zone actually mean? And I thought that's a good way to start this episode with a little definition. So what I found online, good old Google, is the definition of comfort zone is a place, situation, or level where someone feels confident and comfortable. It is the level which one functions with ease and familiarity. Is that how you say it? Familiarity. Such a hard word. So that's the definition. Like, your comfort zone is where you feel obviously most comfortable in and feel you can just freely move around, be yourself probably. And when you step out of your comfort zone, it's unfamiliar, it's scary, it's maybe you don't feel 100% aligned yet when you step out, but you will soon. Especially if you step out of your comfort zone for your dream life, you will feel more aligned after you've done it. Actually, sometimes it's funny how we have like this wall or this zone, and it is just such a tiny step over the zone, and you will feel better. You will feel like, oh, it wasn't actually that hard. But yeah, we get to this later. Just a little fun fact, I thought about this when I was on my morning walk thinking about this episode, which I just feel like I get the best ideas when I go for a walk. And I went back to my car and wrote this whole episode down straight away. And that is like a little fun fact, that there will always be a comfort zone, but it will always be a new comfort zone. So basically, once you step out of your comfort zone, you have this new reality created, and you will actually look back and be like, oh, that wasn't actually that hard to step out of my comfort zone. And this is your new reality. For example, for me, like doing this podcast, doing it on YouTube, talking to you guys in front of a camera, that was kind of for me a step out of my comfort zone. But now it feels just so easy and feels like, I mean, I do this every week, and it just feels like I've done this forever. So it was just a step out of my comfort zone. Same with, it's probably not a big step because I do Instagram stories. I talk in front of the camera quite a lot on my socials. So it might have not been such a big step out of my comfort zone, but still it was a step out of my comfort zone. So with everything that I do, I feel like often for me, it's just little steps out of the comfort zone that open up so many new doors, so many more opportunities, and so many great things in my new reality. And sometimes it might be a bigger step out of my comfort zone. For example, moving to the other side of the world was such a big step out of my comfort zone, but it led me to the life that I want to live. It led me to my new reality. Now, I thought about it the other day, living in New Zealand is now, like, I've been living here for 5 years and that is my reality. Like, thinking back, sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, my 18-year-old me, 19-year-old me, 20-year-old me dreamed of this. I sometimes have to take myself back to being in my room in Germany, looking at photos of New Zealand, having this little heartbreak of, I want to go back. And now this is literally my reality. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I made this possible. And now this is like so normal for me to live here, to go to the supermarket in New Zealand. I don't know, this is like little things, but I was literally, when I saw like New Zealand supermarkets, I was like, heartbreak. And now I do this every day. I can go to the beach. It's literally 10 minutes from here. And it's so normal for me. This is like the new reality I created from one step, like one big step out of my comfort zone. Maybe before that, there were like heaps of little steps, obviously, that led me to that big step. And then once I did this big step, moved to New Zealand or traveled to New Zealand, there were still so many steps out of my comfort zone that I had to do, like introducing myself to someone, going to a job interview, handing in my CVs, reaching out to people I don't know if they want to catch up for a coffee, catching up with strangers, like girls, like for coffee and see maybe we're going to be friends or whatever. Like there were like so many comfort zones I had to overcome. I had to step out of to create the reality that I wanted to live, to create the reality that I saw for myself. And I just want to let you know that comfort zones are there to step out of them. Of course, that doesn't mean you have to step out of your comfort zone all the time, every day or whatever. It is nice to have a comfort zone. It's nice to have a place where you feel comfortable, where you just feel like everything's fine, but still ask yourself, and that's often the problem, like we get so comfortable in our comfort zone and are okay with how our life looks and what we're doing. But I just want to say here again, and I feel like I say this in every episode, life is just so precious, and I don't want you to stay where you are if your dream is so much bigger, if the life you would love to live and are dreaming of is so much bigger than where you are right now. Just remember, if you do what you do every day, if you stay where you are every day, if you do the same things every day that you do in your comfort zone, you're not going to get to where you want to be, because your dream life is waiting out of your comfort zone. Your dream life, if you don't have it yet, is waiting somewhere else and not in the daily things you do right now. So you basically have to step out of your comfort zone. Whenever you feel like you have the stagnant feeling, you feel stuck, that's a sign for you to step out of your comfort zone, for you to change something in your life. So what does it mean to step out of your comfort zone? It means to do things even though they seem or feel difficult, to learn something new, to do things differently than you usually do them, to find a different solution, different way of a recurring problem. So if, let's say, you always end up in the same situation, whether it's your job, whether it's relationships or friendships, and situations that you don't want to end up in, but somehow you always end up in the same situations, it's because you're not stepping out of your comfort zone. You're not having hard conversations or saying the truth about how you're feeling. It's out of your comfort zone. You're not asking for what you want. You're not putting it out there. Like whatever it is that's out of your comfort zone and you're not doing leads you to the same recurring problem situations over and over again, until you finally change something, until you step out of your comfort zone, until you do something different than you usually do, until you react to a situation differently, how your future self, how the life you see for yourself, how that person would react to the situation. Also, stepping out of your comfort zone means that you don't stick to the same old why fix it if it ain't broken way of thinking. So just because something works how you do it, but it's literally not really getting you any further. Just because something works doesn't mean that's how it should be. Doesn't mean that's how it should be, because it's not getting you to where you actually want to be. Just because it's like comfortable doing it that way doesn't mean that's how it should be, or doesn't mean that should stay your reality, because there are so many opportunities out there for you. Another thing that comes to my mind when I think about comfort zones is fear and fearless. Like when you stay in your comfort zone, it's often because firstly you're comfortable, but also you are afraid to step out. You have this fear of stepping out, and that's going back to when we had to keep ourselves alive, like we stayed in our comfort zone. That's just something that's in us still from ages ago, when we had to protect ourselves every day or whatever, you know what I mean? And nowadays we are actually, there's things happening in the world, but we are kind of safe, if I can say it that way. Like obviously there are some bad things happening in the world, but you know what I'm trying to say here. So we don't have to be afraid. We are actually quite privileged to not have to be afraid. So stepping out of your comfort zone is basically growing your fearless muscle. And it won't happen like you do it once and it's always going to be easy. It's like literally growing a muscle, like keep on training the muscle, like being fearless, stepping out of your comfort zone. And yeah, like I said, fear is the main reason why we stay in our comfort zone. So to overcome that fear is just a great way to step out. And then once you created this new reality, of course, then the next time you have to step out of your comfort zone, you have to train that muscle again, and to keep on training the muscle, basically. Here you can tell that I was once a fitness trainer, and I'm really into repetition and training the muscle so it grows or it stays or whatever. So yeah, what also stops us from stepping out of our comfort zone is the fear of failure. And I feel like when I look back at my life, I feel like this fear muscle, or this I'm not stepping out of my comfort zone, really grew, like not stepping out of my comfort zone, in high school. Because my time before high school, when I was like, 6 to 10 years old, you kind of don't really care, I feel like, what other people may think. Like you're like just a child, you're just doing what feels right, you're playing with who you want to play, and so on and so forth. Then you go to high school and you start to become more maybe like conscious about how you look, what other people are wearing, the older people in school and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like you just get really conscious. And maybe also if you like, I was a really quiet person in high school. Like I was really shy, and I feel like high school is like that time where also you go from, you're not really a kid anymore, but you're also not an adult yet. You're like in between. You're kind of trying to find yourself, but also not. And it's just, I feel like it's a really weird time, high school, because you're kind of figuring out who you are, what you like. And then the thing is, there's this pressure of what's trendy, what other people like what other girls in your age do and stuff like that. So I think high school is just a really tough time, and I feel like that's the time where you kind of stay in your comfort zone. Maybe you step out because you think you have to step out, but you're not really stepping out of your comfort zone because it's what aligns with you. It's more because of peer pressure or whatever. And then also I feel like in high school, especially when you get marks on your assignments and stuff, it makes you feel like you're either like not good enough or you're not doing well, and you get like put in a box like what you're good at and what you're not good at and stuff like that. So I feel like high school is actually like a place where you get put into your comfort zone, but then also you get forced to step out because maybe you have to do a presentation or whatever. So you kind of get forced to step out, which is good in a way. But I feel like after high school, once you go to university or once you start your job, it's like the best way, the most aligned way, I would say, to step out of your comfort zone. Because you get to decide how you want your life to look like. You get to decide what job you want to apply for. You get to decide what you want. It's different in high school and living with your parents and stuff. But once you have that freedom, why not use it? Why not doing things that feel right to you, even though they're scary, doing things that you want to do, even though they're scary, stepping out of your comfort zone, like maybe sign up for a new hobby, whatever it is. I think that's the best time after high school to do these things. Just from my experience, because I feel like you finally have that freedom. And I feel like when you go to high school, I don't want to talk too much about high school because it's so long ago, but you always are surrounded by the same people and so on and so forth. But once you get out of high school, you start uni or whatever, you can literally choose your friend group. You can literally choose to meet new people. It is out of your comfort zone. It's probably out of the comfort zones of many people to introduce yourself to new people and to catch up with them for coffee. But that's how you grow. That's how you make connections. That's how you create your reality. The sun is really moving around, so I have to move my camera all the time once the sun comes in. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the how to step out of your comfort zone and share a few steps. So the first step is acknowledge your fear of failure. So like I said earlier, fear has kept us alive for many years, but we're now in a time where we don't have to have this fear anymore. So ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And do I really have to be afraid of this? Like, what am I afraid of when I step out of my comfort zone? And do I really have to feel this way? And write it down and justify it. Like, write it down. I'm scared that blah, blah, blah. And then actually try to justify it. Like, is that really true? Do I really have to be scared of trying this? And, like just becoming aware of it's actually not that bad. It's actually, I don't have anything to lose. You know what I mean? Other thing is changing the way you talk to yourself or changing the way you say things or think. For example, I can't do this. This is too hard. That's literally a fixed mindset. That's you telling yourself you can't do something. It's too hard. And that is, like you would say, this personality of yours is something you can't change. But obviously, you can change. You can change how you think about things. You can change how you do things. You can change how you think about doing things. So basically, if you tell yourself, I can't do this, this is too hard, this is a fixed mindset of yours and it's not going to bring you anywhere. So it's so important that you change your fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So for example, I can't do this yet, but I'm willing to learn. Or ask yourself, do I say something is difficult because I always told myself in the past that this is difficult? Is it really the truth? Is this really difficult? Do I just make it more difficult in my head? So often we are so fixed on past experiences and stick to what we experienced in the past that we don't allow a new reality to happen or don't allow new things to happen because we're so fixed on what happened in the past and what was possible for us in the past. Another thing that I think is really important when stepping out of your comfort zone or trying to step out of your comfort zone is looking at the bigger picture. So ask yourself, how could a change in a specific way or area in my life benefit my life in the long run? Why is this important to me? The bigger picture can really help you to stay on track with your goals. And what I always say, and I'm a big fan, and I said this before, is creating a vision board. So you see your bigger picture every day. Put it somewhere where you see it every day. Put it on your laptop screensaver or on your phone. Like, put your bigger picture while you're doing something right in front of your eyes so you get reminded every day. And guess what? Once you step out of your comfort zone, once you've done it, it will become your new normal and it will start to feel easy at some point. Let me share a few things that felt hard to me at the start. For example, when I moved to New Zealand, speaking English was so out of my comfort zone. I was never good at it in Germany. I was really bad in school in English. But when I moved here or when I traveled here, I knew I had to speak English so that people can understand me. So that was out of my comfort zone. I was scared to do mistakes, but I knew I had to speak the language so I can communicate, I can get a job, and so on and so forth. So I had to do it to practice, to get better, and to learn. And then the second step out of my comfort zone was to start talking English in my stories on Instagram. I had a German audience. I had started to get some more overseas followers, but it was really a huge step out of my comfort zone starting to speak English on my stories because I knew I had an accent. I knew that I wasn't perfect. I wasn't fluent in the language. I had an accent, like I said, and that was really out of my comfort zone. But I also then learned while doing it, I'm going to get better, I'm going to learn, I'm going to rewatch my stories and maybe point out grammar mistakes and will focus on not doing them again, and so on and so forth. And the more I spoke English in my daily life and started sharing it on Instagram and then started uploading YouTube videos in English, it became my new normal. It became my new reality. Another thing out of my comfort zone was starting a podcast. Like I started my podcast over a year ago and that was just a new thing for me, something out of my comfort zone, sharing my thoughts, going into like more deep topics, talking about it for 30 minutes or however long my episodes are, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. It was out of my comfort zone. And now it's so easy to me to show up here and now even with camera and just talk, and I can talk for hours sometimes. Then also another step out of my comfort zone was writing my book. Like I now publish 2 books and 1 journal. And honestly, it was a huge step out of my comfort zone, even figuring out how can I publish my book. That was a huge step out of my comfort zone, talking to people about it, because I might have had like limiting beliefs. I definitely had limiting beliefs of who am I to write a book, but I'm really good in changing my mindset. And I was like, who am I not to write a book, right? So that was a huge step out of my comfort zone. What else? Starting my online coachings like 2 years ago, I think that was the first time I offered a journal Zoom coaching or like a free Zoom call with you guys. And I was so nervous. I was literally sweating. Although I show up on Instagram all the time, I'm in contact with you guys on DMs and whatever, but really offering like a call, a Zoom call, and talking to you guys, that was really out of my comfort zone. And now I do this like every month. I do the Mindful Living Collection where you can sign up to and join my weekly, monthly calls. I do group coachings. I do one-on-one coaching. This is my new normal now, helping you to live your best life, and I love it. But my first Zoom call 2 years ago about that topic, like journaling, I was so nervous. And now I offer coachings, like I offer group coachings, like I said, I offer monthly catch-ups calls to talk to you guys, to talk about mindset. By the way, there's still spots available for the next month. I'm going to put the link below, Mindful Living Collective. I'd love to connect with you. This is like the opportunity to chat about all things mindset, limiting beliefs. But yeah, like I said, that was 2 years ago, was a huge step out of my comfort zone, and now it's my new normal, and I love it. And I'm so grateful that I took this first step out of my comfort zone and started offering this. So I just want to remind you here that you create your reality and you are responsible for creating the reality that you want to live. One thing that I want to say here, and I said this before, but it's so important because often we don't want to step out of our comfort zone because we are scared. It's out of our comfort zone. It's scary. It's the fear that's holding us back. Often that fear is because we worry about what other people think about us. And let me tell you one thing. Yes, people will talk. That's just, some people just do talk, which is annoying, but they might talk about you for 5 minutes or not even a whole minute. I don't know. They might think something about you. Oh, who's she to do this? But who cares? They're going to think about you for, like I said, 5 minutes or less, and then they move on with their own insecurities, with their own problems, with their own life. I said this before, and it might sound a bit harsh, but you're not that important. Like, not to others. They have their own problems and they have other people to talk about. Some people just like gossip or whatever. They are not our people anyway. But don't let others and their opinion of you hold you back from living your best life. You should be so important to yourself. You should be so precious to yourself that you stop worrying about what other people may think about you. Because you are the most important person in your life, with your family, of course, but stop overthinking. And one last thing that I want to say here that I wrote down back on the bottom is, I don't want you to live with any regrets. I want you to live your best life. I want you to do things that you really truly want to do. I want you to step out of your comfort zone for you. And also, I want to see you in my next call, Mindful Living Collective. Click the link below if you want to sign up. There are limited spots available, so would love to see you. And I think that's it for today's episode. How long did I talk? Half an hour almost. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode and see you soon.